But you see, this situation here, it's so severe. The fact that you've not even told the truth at the back of it, your whole life is going to be shaped by this very moment. So everything you do is a cover up to this. I don't want anything to do with a situation like that. I don't even think it's good for him. It's not good for him.
Of course it's not.
Because you're always walking away from a situation where we all know you got away with murder. Everybody knows you got away with it. Even if the law has not considered you whatever the law considers you, I don't need the law. The law and God are two different things. That's why I'm trying to say to you, I don't have a capitalist mentality. I understand that there's a law and you have to abide by it and so on and so forth, but I don't have a capitalist mentality. So you getting one over.
Well, you do to a certain extent because you take advantage of it. That's why you are who you are. That's why you exist in this, how can I say, this market. That's why you're able to be as successful as you are. You have a capitalistic mentality. You understand how it works and you take part in it to great effect. That's why I respect you, and I think many other people respect what you've done and continue to be doing. But I do understand that the way you think is not just set one way. It's not monolithic. Two things can be true at the same time, and you might have this village mentality at the same time. And I think that's where there's, how can I say, where there's a clash, because we all take part in this setup whilst maybe also having a different mentality that will hold you accountable in a different way. But because society doesn't it's not set up with the other mentality that we might have or you might have, whoever, it doesn't follow that process. So the setup and process that we follow has found him to be free of all charges and allegations.
You may feel so you can continue your trajectory in life within that. I think it stinks if you're not telling the truth on something like this.
100%.
It's just disgusting.
No, I'm 100% with you. I'll actually talk a little bit on the law side of it, right? So, you see, some people would probably ask, because I think some people are forgetting the fact that she decided to drop the charges, right?
Yeah.
Now, I think a question that some people would ask is, can you be charged with a crime or be prosecuted of a crime even though the witness is prepared to drop the charges?
Let me jump in quickly. From what I remember, some years ago they changed the law that it doesn't need the victim or the so-called victim or whoever we believe is to be the victim to have to press charges anymore. And this was put into place for domestic violence specifically, from what I remember.
And you actually can. But what happens is, but this is what actually happens, So imagine, in court, remember you've got the jury, you've got the defense, and you have the prosecution, The prosecution is obviously trying to prosecute, and the defense is trying to look after their client, right? Whoever is on trial. So if now they have who's the main witness in this situation, who is like not compliant, someone who wants to drop the charges, Jesus. And let's say even in this situation, because they're still together, what that does is it massively hurts the prosecution.
Yeah.
Because if now we're gonna need someone to stand on this on the thing and testify, right? We're gonna need to cross-examine someone. So if we're trying to,
you need, in a case like domestic violence or anything like similar to this, you need someone to point and say, that's the guy that's been doing this or doing whatever. But if the person you say, like I'm the police, I'm saying he did that to him, but him doesn't want to say that he did it to him. But I'm out here saying he did it to him. I need to say he did it to him, and he needs to say he did it to me altogether for it to have any proper weight, along with the evidence, along with psychological reports, etc., etc. But I can't be just saying he done that to him and the victim or the person who whatever happened to them is not even saying that with me. That's crazy. It makes me look crazy.
To prosecute this person, we need the main witness to stand on that,
100%.
And I need to cross-examine you and ask you all the questions so that we now can show the jury that this is exactly what he was doing.
Yeah.
But if she's not down to do that, it ends up being a better case for the defense, because the defense basically says, look, they're together. They just turn around to the jury and say, look,
That's
they're together.
mad.
Do you know what I mean? Like, she'll go up there, she'll say some stuff, whether it just be like, you know, ultimately it was something that happens all the time, and you know, I'm okay with it. I don't know. I don't know how it would be shaped, but ultimately, I love this guy. I want to spend the rest of my life with him, and there's actually there's no problem. Like, I sent it to a friend. A friend went and did whatever they did with it or whatever. But ultimately, at home, everything is fine, and we're all cool. The jury is very likely to turn around and say, well, yeah, this is a bit mad, but clearly it hurts the prosecution, because the person who's defending this can easily put a bunch of words together and sentences to explain, look, she's just said everything. So
that's why I hate the capitalist mentality. If that happens in the village, that guy's fucked. You think anyone's got any time to discuss and have the court of law? We know what you've done. In the village, we all have to work together. You doing that fucks up everything, so you can fuck off. I like that mentality.
So then, let me play angel's advocate here then, yeah? How do you then embed that person back into society?
See, that's the problem. Because society is not based upon... That's why I'm saying I wouldn't know.
Right. Because that's where it gets tricky, because, you know, like, if someone's done a wrong...
No. It don't get tricky. There's been worse, and there've been worse before, and there'll be worse later down the line. Unfortunately, this is all about money mostly. Obviously, not everything. Sorry, so all is a wrong choice of words. But mostly, this is all about money. He will go to work. He will train. He will eventually start kicking ball once it dies down, and he will start making his money. But he will be under much more scrutiny. But he will still go to work. Any other business, he will probably be sacked from his job on some level, but then he'll be able to go and get a job elsewhere, because not everybody would know him. But this is a different ecosystem of work, whereas everybody knows everybody, and the public that don't necessarily take part in the day-to-day running of this ecosystem but greatly contribute, they're all watching. It's a program. But what the crux of what I'm saying is that he will be back at work. There is nothing legally that Man United can say that can stop him from work. If they do not let him work, they will be subject to legal proceedings of some sort. I'm not an expert, but something, because the law has dropped everything against them. So what else is there? You're going to say, well, this recording come out, we don't like you, we think you're wrong, even though you're quality, we're going to cut you loose and somebody else is going to pick you up. Nah, that's not how this works. As they spoke about earlier in the video, Ched Evans went to jail, prison for whatever he done. He come out and he got a job straight away. So...
And obviously we can all have that conversation. This person has done a wrong, yeah? But to put the wrong uns all over there on something that they've done isn't necessarily helpful, is it? Or is it? I'm podding here.
And what I'm doing is the same. I'm scouring through my mind, like, because back in the day they threw all the criminals to Australia.
Yes, but look, like, imagine. Okay, okay, this is
not everyone over there saying nigga. White people, black people, Chinese people.
But wait, what's happening here is that imagine you, and I hope this is clear, I'm not defending this person's behavior at all. But what I'm saying,
do you know, it's mad that if you talk in reality, you have to preamble what you're going to say with that statement. That's mad. But anyway, let's go.
Here is, you're young, you do something that is mad. Yeah.
Mental.
Yeah, mental. Are we then saying, by pushing them all the way to Australia, it's like, you could never ever have a chance again?
Now,
that's what I want to know.
Do you know what makes it difficult for me? It's difficult to make an assessment on what should happen because you have too much different types of people living here.
100%.
Yes.
There's no one way of dealing it where everyone's going to be happy.
But there is one way of dealing with it, and it's been done. The law assesses and sees whether you could be prosecuted for what you supposedly have been accused of. If you cannot be prosecuted, that should be the end of it. That is the one way of things being done. But I get where he's going. He's saying, well, there's not enough to prosecute you, but we all know that you've done something shady. How do we punish you or move forward knowing that you are some sort of shadiness? People do it all the time. People do it all the time. People have done craziness and, you know, people have to work with them. People have to keep it moving. And what I've noticed in this society, the more at stake in terms of the more money on the table or whatever, what happens outside doesn't matter. As long as you're not breaking the law, as long as you're not been proven to break the law, it is back to the grind as normal because we've got millions to make.
Because we've all got our own way of dealing
How
with
do you gauge it? How do you gauge a person who can be rehabilitated and someone who's not? Because there's some people I don't believe can be.
So do I.
I mean, some people will believe that everyone can. I don't believe so. I don't believe everyone can be rehabilitated. I think sometimes some people
That's
are so
rough.
far gone
That is
that
over.
it's difficult to bring that back. You might be, I'll tell you what,
Yeah.
in like the
Maybe
percentages, they might be like 100% gone. And you might be able to bring them back to 60, but it's not enough. Do you get what I'm saying? You might be able to bring them down to that, but it's not enough. However, how do you gauge that? How do you gauge the person who's completely gone to the person who can be rehabilitated
The thing is, yeah,
in a village way?
this is what I will say. Whatever you're willing to do to rehabilitate that person, cuz it's not up to you as the rehabilitator and it's not even up to them. The moment you've put it out to the public, it's up to the public.
Oh,
and I know
yeah.
that sounds crazy, but that's where you live. You live amongst the public.
Yeah, he's got a point. That's why people like to run to social media to talk about things that have or have not happened because they know public scrutiny has the most weight more than anything. And sometimes, let's take this case for example, yeah? Most of us heard what was on the recording. So therefore, we're glad that it come out. So even if he goes back, most of us will have our take on him or what we think of him. But there are other people that take things out to the public for him. They didn't do anything wrong. Somebody says whatever they want about him, and now you're ruining their career or whatever. Even if they get proved to be innocent later, it's out in the public now. There's always going to be some of the public that's going to be like, can't quite trust him. So my personal take on it is that if somebody has done something wrong, you should report them and push it as far as you can down the legal route as much as you can. Going to the public route is not right, especially if you believe someone done you wrong. You should be trying to get justice of some sort. Going to the public doesn't do anything other than get them looked at a certain way forever. And some people want to ruin people's what's it called? Ruin them socially. Ruin how they're viewed how they're viewed by their family and friends, work colleagues, etc. Just the general public. And if you've got a big enough name, then it is effective. But I think we need to put a stop to that first and place more emphasis on prosecution and getting proper justice.
Now, we can all say, oh, you can get back in society, no problem. But there's going to be a 15-year-old kid on Twitter going, oh, you can't avoid that. Yeah. When you go to Twitter, you can't avoid that. You have to accept that. You have to accept that. When you go to Instagram, you have to accept that. So essentially, as crazy as it sounds, you're always going to be in prison. He's always going to be in prison.
Yeah, that's true.
He's never going to be free of it. And I think the time that you become free of it is when you tell the truth. Like, obviously, Ched Evans doesn't have half the career Mason Greenwood had, even at any point in his life. But to a certain extent, Ched Evans is free from that label. He's done his time. He's done whatever he's done. There's no point in anyone bringing it back up again, realistically. He just does what he's doing. I think the issue relies, and it could, I mean, they might bring it up, I don't know for sure, but I'm saying the issue lies when you're just lying, bro. And you're saying...
He said this a couple times, yeah, and I'm not sure what he's lied about. I'm gonna check it out again.
That he's clear of all charges, but if I play the voice note right now...
No, I mean...
Don't do that.
No.
So it's like, law is capitalist, but you need it, I get it. Principle-based situations...
More than 5 years after having conviction quashed...
Oh, he had it quashed?
Yeah, from what I remember, Ched Evans, even though he went to jail, always maintained that he was innocent. So, see what this says.
Footballer Ched Evans remains active in the Football League with Preston and is in action for the Championship side against Tottenham in the FA Cup this Saturday. Wow.
That was last week Saturday.
That was last week Saturday. So, did he play?
Yeah.
Oh, he did play.
So he went to prison, came out, and then had a retrial, and he won his case.
He won his case.
Well, like, now Ranger, 100%.
I think all the differences, the big fundamental differences is that, you know what? You see, with this situation here, this Ched thing, yeah? When it comes to that, it's like two people in the room, yeah? And sometimes it's very difficult to prove. And just because somebody got off doesn't mean that they did it. But also, just because somebody also didn't get off didn't mean that they did it either.
That's
so
true.
It's very difficult to work out.
Yeah.
That's true.
You see when you hear voice notes,
This is
just
the
That's the voice note thing. And I was talking to my friend about this not too long ago. He was basically saying to me that he thinks that Mason Greenwood is the lowest of the low. And I was saying, I remember earlier on, I was saying, the voice notes sound horrible, but they don't prove anything. You see, like he was saying certain things on the voice note, but we don't know if anything happened based on the things that he was saying. You don't got to read between the lines because I don't want to say too much, and it's kind of terrible. But we don't know if anything happened based on what he was saying on the voice note. But he just sounded really disturbed, very twisted. So I get what he's saying. Those voice notes really showed a certain, like an inside of what was going on.
It just adds another layer to the cake, and it then gives us more room for interpretation.
Yes.
Do you know what? It's so crazy because obviously we're doing a pod. You have to have a discussion about it, and you can't not have an opinion. But to a certain extent, there are some people in life when they do certain things. I don't know what should be done with you, but I just don't want anything to do with you.
I hear that.
That's just me.
Yeah.
I don't want to be the judgment of character or to determine what happens with you, because when I think about it, I am more village than I am capitalist. I don't feel I should, as a one person, go, I feel we should do this to this person. I just feel, cause you're disgusting.
As a village, though, you would have to almost
outcast
do the same
them.
thing.
You have to outcast them.
You'd
have to outcast them because it's different to a capitalist society. In a capitalist society, it's about outdoing the other person. So there'll be years of cunts.
Yeah.
There'll be years of cunts. So what's this different to this cunt to Jeffrey Epstein? Jeffrey Epstein got all the way to 68. This guy didn't even make to 19. Jeffrey Epstein went to 68 in a capitalist society. So although he's disgusting, I don't live by that way. So you lot figure that out. In a village, we have to work together. We have to. So if you do that...
Do you just stop working together the moment that somebody makes a mad mistake?
An error like that, it's not a one error. It was him over 2 years or a year or something like that. Like, if that's what's happening within our village...
They blanked it out, but I caught that. And if that's true, because I didn't know that. If that's true, that's wild. Absolutely wild.
I'm going to go, no one's going to trust you in this village anymore. You know that's wrong. We have principles in our village. We consistently echo them. We work together to progress. You have ruined that. So I can't tell you right now we can just say to you, get back in and we all work. Because I don't think the whole village is going to accept that.
What do you do with them? You
outcast their blood clot, and
you just put them in. You just send them to Australia.
Yeah, that's my vibe. And I know it sounds horrible, but like,
I don't know about that. I think
it's deep though. It's you forced yourself on a woman that's meant to be your partner over a course of time, to the point where even the parents are saying it's cool. Like,
I didn't know. I mean, I didn't catch that off the recordings. I didn't catch that he was doing something over a long period of time. And if that's the case, I was going to say, how have they not been able to prove that? But like I said earlier, you can't prove that unless the person who he did it to saying it as well. So I don't know where Poet's getting this from. I would be interested to know where he's getting the rest of this from, so I can look into it myself. But if that's the case, that is crazy.
The girl's parents are saying it's cool. I might send the parents to Australia as well. The parents and Mason, and we bring the girl and we rehabilitate the girl, because we're not understanding in this one situation. There's a victim that's going to need far more attention and love and to be rebuilt. Then Mason, you've done what you've done, bro. You have to deal with the consequences of your actions. You can't go, this is harsh now. No, what you done to the girl is going to affect her for the rest of her life.
100%.
One day, she's going to be 35 years old, 40 years old. I promise you, she'll be 40 years old, Chucky. She'll be sitting down. Her children will be running around, and she's just going to be in tears, fam. Thinking about the shit she went through when she was younger, and the shit that guy was allowed to get away with because he played for Manchester United. Like, what are we doing here? He's going to Australia, and he's not going to go on the outskirts. He might go in the middle where it's hot and there's rattlesnakes. Because then at least I know if he comes back, he's not doing...
Beer kangaroos.
Beer kangaroos. My brother.
And you know they're fighting man
They're punching man up, man. What?
Bro, they're on road.
They're going
smoky now. Yeah?
They're on
standing up on
steroids.
2 feet on a swingers thing. And he ain't got a chance.
Brother.
He ain't got a chance.
Crocodiles, alligators. Once you're around that...
Make him yam in blood clot.